Hey everyone, welcome back. It's Lucid, and Sai is joining me once again today.
Hey, this is Sai, and today I'm once again joining Lucid.
And we've got pretty exciting turn for you here. Last episode, we got to see some pretty cool things. There was the final Jomon Arco showdown, so that was pretty cool. We also got to see that Agarthan Giga Chad hero like solo a whole pythium army with like 20
3 fire elementals. Yeah.
Now, apparently fire magic is bad. Okay, so let's start with the message from Arco, who had probably the biggest battle that he won extremely decisively last turn. So I expect this is going to be a gloating message. We can call that play the flea flicker. Google if you're not familiar with American football. Advance up to his cap like a normal pitch to the running back. Feign weakness by avoiding the fight and bouncing down to the southwest province, just like a running back looks trapped when he runs his stop, or when he stops his run. We look completely trapped now. But wait, he tosses the ball back to the quarterback, and the quarterback finds the striking elite 4-path wide receiver who can drop secret Power the Spheres Foul Vapors trap when the defense is quickly surrounding us in the backfield. Touchdown. God, my sportscasting ability is not great. Okay.
Yeah, flea flicker is a pretty classic play. The idea basically being that the running back gets the ball, starts with it, and then gives it back to the quarterback for an actual pass.
Right.
That's the summary.
Right. Continuing from Marco, honestly, you might even want to go back and review this play in context of the last 4 turns or so. It's pretty damn sick and full of nuance. We start by putting pressure on his cap, making him come out and reveal his scripts. Then we realize he's using a rather clever play with Sulfur Haze on our compact Mage core, which actually is a problem. We take a turn to hit Poison Ward and research to hit Foul Vapors, and we're face to face with him in battle on his cap, but we didn't have Foul Vapors yet. And now he has Mysterious Nature Gems on his mages. At this moment, we do several things. First, we set up a gem bait to learn that his gem-based scripts and burn his gems. Second thing is this turn we research Foul Vapors, so next turn we can script it. So the move is to bounce down, burn him, gem burn him. Also, it's more layered than that. We bounce down and we give him a false sense of confidence. We also present him with the scenario we are trapped and he knows we are going to move up to potentially retreat back home. So he has a somewhat obvious move to block us, cutting retreat paths and forcing a battle. He feels very good about this. The other thing we did was put 2 solitary nature gems on 2 nature ladies. Now this part only works with good players that are checking out details. And we know these guys are pretty good. They see the two nature gems and think, oh, hey, they saw Sulfur Haze. So they're dropping Poison Ward to block that. Little do they know, not only are we dropping it for Haze, but for the Foul Vapors trap we're setting. Finally, we script the real battle with 3 Poison Ward casts and the semi-hidden Foul Vapors cast, and he walks right into it because he's confident and wants to prevent us getting back to our lands. Chef's kiss. I realize these messages sound a bit masturbatory, but it feels like this kind of stuff and thinking can easily be missed, if not mired in the details. And I know y'all got 10 other nations to look at. Also, while I'm sure it seems like what's the big deal, big nation eats a little nation, the difference between setting up this fight with a near 0 loss battle on our end and a full wipe on their end compared to spending many turns having to siege down a cap full of his mega army and fight in a fort where we win but lose like 50 to 70% of mages and most his mages retreat is a very big deal. Mindful Sun. All right, what's your reaction to all of that, Sai?
I think that outside of his hitting Foul Vapors for that battle, that Jomon was kind of forced to take the fight anyways.
Yeah.
So the maneuvering in order to like basically try to draw Jomon into the perfect trap, I mean, obviously it worked, but it also wasn't super necessary. Like he was going to be able to take that favorable fight regardless, and Jomon just really didn't have the research to compete. So there wasn't really any choice that Jomon had other than to try to take that fight and try to deal as much damage as he could. So Arco, by waiting for that Foul Vapors and by pulling off that trap, did indeed manage to minimize his losses. But he also could have done that by taking the fight like a couple turns earlier and just using a little bit of evocation bait, bring in some Cerulean warriors, let them tank the Sulfur Haze, and then just win the battle conventionally as well. I don't think that he was at serious risk of losing his Mage Core unless he did like mispositioning or just took a bunch of damage to wall archers.
Yeah, I 100% agree with what you said. I think having Poison Ward was great for dealing with Sulfur Haze, and to wait for Foul Vapors was a nice touch. But I think, exactly like you said, Jomon had to take fight, right? So wherever he took his army and stood there, Jomon had to ride out and fight him. It is worth, like, it's always good to like know what your opponent's going to do. So all the times he baited out, like, to figure out what the script was, that's pretty good, because like you and I didn't really know what Jomon was going to do either, so until he
Only
told us.
because they told us,
right?
Yeah.
So we can take a look at his research graph again. That's also maybe hidden to Arco. We also get I'll just show you what he was talking about. So he comes down here from the army. He jumped on the capital. Jomon moved here. And the turn that Jomon would have moved on the capital, he came down here. And Jomon goes on the capital. Saw his script, and I think he left the gym bait. I don't remember if it actually worked to gym bait, but he left the force to try to gym bait. And then Arco was thinking, Jomon was thinking, hey, this guy's probably trying to escape. So he's going up this way, and then they moved this way and had the fight. So that's what he was talking about, the little boop, boop, boop.
Yep.
All right. Message arrived from Jomon. Latest and last news from the Jomon Independence Front. The defense was a total disaster. My mages didn't really do what I hoped with my spell attack spell script. And okay, that's interesting. So this we didn't know.
Yeah, I thought he would have just been doing like advance and cast, but
right.
I guess he did do like a single attack order and just didn't get him into range.
Well, because they were locked in,
notice that.
like we were kind of looking at. So
yeah.
That's the problem with too many bodyguards. And did not move forward as I hoped to be within range of Arco's armies. But the Foul Vapors play, I would have died anyway. I have given the order to Xibalba to sweep in and take on my land, to not live as a one-fort underwater city that no one can take. I had decided to demolish the fort. Aw, it's been a blast. Best of luck to everyone reading this.
Xibalba could take that fort. He's got underwater stuff.
Yeah. That's true, but I had a small dream. I think I mentioned it in one of the previous episodes, that he just gets like the Ryujin Air Force and just decides he's going to control lake systems over the map. Could have
been funny, but a lot of players don't like sticking around as an unviable power.
Right. I totally understand it. Like, okay, get me out of the game. I can't. I don't have a chance of winning. No shade I'm going to cast for that decision, but I kind of did want to see the Jomon Air Force like as just a lake power. So
yeah, he could have survived underwater for a fair bit.
Yeah.
Just like building shrimp soldiers would probably be able to repel a lot of what Arco can do.
Yeah. So this is kind of interesting. So this little squad came and raided underwater. I don't think these are thugs. I thought these were whites, but no, they're thugs. It's this guy who's pretty killer. This guy with another fear hat. And this guy.
I think that they're there to kill the Ghost King.
Right. Well, the Ghost King died in that fight, so...
Right.
Yeah.
But I think that like that's why he had these guys prepared
yes.
for this underwater fight. So like, he didn't need them because the Ghost King's already gone.
Right.
But that's like what this was designed for, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right.
And now thugged up as they are, they should be like more or less immune to conventional troops. So outside of like absolute spam of water elementals, it's going to be very hard to deal with them.
Yeah.
Which we know that Jomon can't do because, they don't have the research to back it up.
Right. And this is the victorious Arco army moving on top of Jomon's capital. And Jomon doesn't really have much here to defend. So, rip.
Yeah. And we see that Xibalba's moving in. So now the question is basically just if Xibalba's going to be fighting Arco directly. They sent their god there. Wonder what he's casting.
Wait, do we have... Where's the god? Oh, here he is.
He's the guy with the fancy cape.
Really? He's cat. Why would you cat? Wait, that doesn't even make any goddamn sense. Why would you bring your god? Oh, he's off script. He's off script. Okay, that's why. Because I'm like, why would you cast Strength to Giants when you can just do Bloodlust? And the answer is you don't. He's just off script. He was going to... What was he going to cast with 2 nature gems?
Maybe poison resistance for his mages.
That's a very weird thing to commit your god for.
Yeah, I don't know. Because you also got way ob for that.
Yeah.
So that is kind of weird.
I mean, he's twice born,
Yeah, I
so
don't
he
know.
might be trying to get him killed. But if you want to get him killed, you could just cloud trapeze him in a lake.
Yeah.
But let's take a
I
look
don't know
at
if
these
you like you.
murder kitties with the bless
Yeah.
on them.
I think like the idea here is to
Oh, maybe it was
like that
just
he's
to
twice
bless
born.
the god. I mean, bless the troops.
He's not in friendly dominion, so that doesn't work.
Maybe he is.
They got divine blessing.
Oh, they did? Oh, you're
Yeah.
right. Okay. Well, let's look at these guys, because Xibalba didn't have a super intense bless. He's got magic weapons, poison resistance, fire resistance, cold resistance, notably no shock resistance. Defense 3, strength 4. The other stuff.
Undying 6,
Undying,
HP 1. Yeah.
These are not the scariest murder kitties I've ever seen by a margin. Like, these can pretty easily be thugged or super... Not easily, but they can be thugged and super combatanted. But they're still really good troops.
Yeah, it's a pretty modest bless commitment.
Yeah. Which
Definitely enjoying those luck scales.
Right.
That's a lot of province defense. Although I suppose he knew that province defense was there.
He had that big army we saw. Why would you send a big army to that province? That was probably in case he bumped Jomon, which is a little
Arco, you mean?
Arco. But it's a little weird because why would you? Wow, that's a lot of PD. Holy shit.
Yeah, I mean it had been a lot of PD beforehand.
Right.
That was from the first war.
Yeah, he might have lost a lot of these Aussies if they didn't get the commander snipe.
Yeah, but you can like when you have that many flyers,
Yeah.
and because the Oslotls have 30 morale, you can easily divide them into a bunch of squads. You can pretty reliably get the commanders.
Yeah, that's fair. But yeah, he sent the big army here because if Arco Arco had 2 moves. They could go here or here. I can't think why Arco would have sent the army south, though. Pretty obvious they're going to go on the fort.
I could imagine that he could send a smaller force south in order to grab that Jomon province while going on the capital.
Yeah. I wonder if these guys have a non-aggression pact. I mean, he's taken a big part of the spoils. He took this turn as well. There's no battle. So he's... he's
0 PD.
Yeah. He's taken, probably a good solid half of the Jomon stuff. Or claimed it. The question is he going to attack... Okay, here's my question for you, Sai. If you're Xibalba, do you attack Arco? And if you're Arco, do you attack Xibalba? Or what do you do as either player?
I think Arco will attack Xibalba just because he's going to see this as a guy basically attacking into his territory. Just based on how he's presented himself diplomatically so far. He could probably see Jomon's stuff as his at this point and not feel cool about Xibalba swooping in to grab the spoil. That said, as Xibalba, if you haven't already spoken with Arco, I think that you can kind of see that coming, and you want to it's worth taking the first strike. I think at this point, both of these nations should recognize that they're going to be fighting each other, and Xibalba should look to hit the Ulm side of Arco's empire as well.
Yeah, I think the only X factor to me is not the only. Yeah, I think it's mostly Agartha, right? Agartha is kind of a free agent. They had talked about going on Pythium, but if Xibalba starts handily winning the war against Arco, that needs to be a news flash to everybody. You don't want Xibalba eating all of Arco, and that can happen very fast with flyers.
Yeah, Xibalba starting a snowball is very scary.
Yeah.
That said, I think that Agartha is also more or less comfortable with letting someone else be the threat for a little bit.
Yeah.
Because if they're sitting in a solid position number 1 and everyone's scared about them, then it's helpful to have someone that you can point to and get a coalition aimed at instead.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay, so that's that. Let's look at the rest of the messages here. We have a message from Gath. At first glance, it looks like Marignon was very successful with all the assassin counter raiding last turn and taking back most of the stuff I and Pan took from him. However, I'm feeling it's the opposite, as he has had to give up the initiative. His army is weaker. His gem reserve should be close to depleted. However, he's playing very well and anticipating and countering my actions, right? Because he's messed with a lot of these Gadals. Our gem baiting adept it was a shared effort. Oh, so I guess they split the
They
gym
probably
cost.
funded it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Had much less effect because Marignon made his best move and dropped Siege. However, the Adept still burned 25 gems, which is relevant. A few comments. 203 is a terrible province with a bad event chain, so I'm glad if he controls it until the war ends. His Siege of 217 is also quite good as it acts as an assassin protection for the researchers inside. Income is small, can't really recruit enchantresses because of assassins anyway. The only problem is that it hampers my mobility. Aggressive placement in 2-7 fight because I expect him to either not take a fight or do foul vapors. If he does take a fight, though, I gem bait him again with the raid squad. If not, the raiders should not be caught. P.S. Have you seen those Godals at the top of Hall of Fame? Let's take a look at that real quick.
I have seen Godol's top of Hall of Fame, but probably not obese ones.
Oh, I see some dead Godals at the top of the Hall of Fame.
I think the second one, Gedaliahu, I think that guy was the guy who had been shrunken.
Oh, yeah. Maybe he died this turn.
Yeah, left my net.
Well, let's find out. So Jomon and Marignon, this has been like the battleground province. Oh my goodness. All right.
This is the real army.
Okay.
But just fighting a little PD, so
Yeah.
easy enough. Just swooping on in.
Not a ton of mage support, though. It's a few crystal sorceresses who are going to communion. Oh. He's got this for pearls to do, I'm not sure what.
Probably anti-magic.
Yeah. Okay. And Marignon attacks in Ivanmore. I want to do it from here so that we... Oh, no, it's just a scout ping.
Just wants to see what's there. Was that Godol a thug, or was it just a caster?
Let's take a check. If there was a big battle, I didn't want to ruin the surprise.
Yeah, given that... Yeah, okay, just a caster. Given how many sacreds there are, that makes sense.
Yeah.
You want the divine blessing.
Yeah. Okay, so let's go look now. I don't think we have a big battle. No. Gath has moved on. Oh, this is interesting. Marignon pillaged his own province.
No, that's raiders.
Really?
Gath sent a raiding force. He mentioned that.
Oh, wait, let's look again.
So raiding occurs before the regular phase movement.
Right.
So the idea being that you can raid in order to gem bait prior to the fight.
I see. Okay, you're right. Who does he use as a raider?
Anyone with an implementer axe, I would assume.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Because that's death, earth.
Yeah. There's some fine points of raiding. Raiding's actually overpowered. Arco and I've been talking about
It's a very weird
it.
mechanic. Yeah.
It's a bad mechanic.
It's overpowered in certain nations. Like, I think Ind can exploit it the best because they can do as many raids as they want.
Right.
And then the other one that's really good at it is actually Xibalba, just because they have a ton of flying guys and the appropriate pathing for it. So you can just make like a ton of weenie bats and then give a couple commanders the implementer axes, which is a little more expensive than Ind's version because, you know, they still have to spend gems on it. But just the sheer breadth of what they can hit is very scary.
Yeah.
They can basically completely lock down forts.
Yeah. I forget. What is it? The other thing. There's one other thing that's completely busted about it. Part of the thing that's busted about it is that it takes place on an assassin map for some strange reason, how it's coded. And so you can do raiding with like a Wind of Death caster with some chaff. And you put like a Ring of Returning on him. And
yeah, because when the enemies rout, they die.
They die. Right? So it's just anybody that fails a morale check insta dies. It's like, oh great, that's fun and balanced. Some of that's going to be coming out because I think I'm going to put part of Advanced Fancy Dance, which was a game that Arco was in, where he started abusing some of this stuff in there, and hopefully Illwinter changes it because I don't think the rating mechanic is well thought through in Dominions, and it is abusable, which I didn't know until recently. So
yeah, I think the only reason that it hasn't seen widespread abuse is just that most folks ignore it completely.
Right.
I've yet to see an Ind do the absolute like obnoxious thing of basically preventing other players from using gems at all in battles.
Right. And it's also opaque. Like most people don't know what's an assassin battle. Right. Or if they do, they're like, oh, you just lose any of the raiders who retreat. You don't think like, oh,
But
I can Wailing Winds cast the army and,
make the defenders
Yeah.
retreat. Yeah.
so. There's a bunch of stupid bullshit you can do with that. I mean, I'm a little not excited. Oh, hello. Did we get devils here? Oh, no, it's just...
Nope. Just royal guards with buffs.
Oh, and this guy.
He's got his hero there. Yeah.
Oh, with...
All thugged out nicely.
Yeah, very intense gear. It's been kind of predictable. Gath's like... On one hand, Gath is like, I am not going to keep using Gadals. On the other hand, Gath is like, I'm going to keep sending this Gadal into this same province.
Maybe he doesn't like this Gadol. Is this the shrunken guy?
I think this is. I think he's tired of his shit. Oh, wait, is it?
No. Yeah, that's the actual like a normal guy.
Yeah.
He's one of the obese guys, but that's not particularly a huge downside, especially when you can put regen on them. Who ends up getting him? I assume it's those advanced and Oh, okay.
I think it
It's
might
the
have
hero.
been these guys too. The hero might have gotten the last hit. He was getting abused though. What was hurting him? Because I think the hero did get the last hit, but he was taking a lot of damage from these great swords.
Yeah, well, the hero's got the great sword of sharpness, so you know that's gonna hurt.
Yeah, I don't think he's gonna thug that, but let's just look in here. So right now they're entangled. These guys aren't hurting him.
Desiccated, but survived. It's got decent magic resistance, so that definitely doesn't last that long. Okay, he took 10 damage there.
No, I think that was a different guy. He's still at max HP.
I think he was over the max HP somehow.
Okay.
Because yeah, if you look at his max HP there,
Oh, wait,
it's
now he
showing,
got
I
hit.
think
What just hit him?
I think that was just a crit, or just a high roll rather. Yeah, Royal Guard hit him in the arm for 16 points of damage. Just an insanely high roll.
Oh, okay.
It's near the bottom there.
Yeah. Well, why is he getting abused right now? It's like he's failing all these things. Is he fatigued? No? Oh, his Vine Shield got smashed.
Yeah, that'll do it. High slashing damage.
Yep. So one of the things, Vine Shields are really good on thugs. They're not really the best item a lot of times on super combatants, especially against high slashing damage. Because in a very long fight, this isn't even really that long of a fight.
He was above his max HP somehow. I'm not actually sure how that happened though. Okay, now he's okay. Yeah, he just got smacked.
Yeah. So a lot of that was the Vine Shield breaking. But this guy probably would have killed him anyway. And if these guys weren't going to break the Vine Shield, this guy definitely was. So.
Oh yeah, 42 armor piercing damage with 29 attack.
Holy shit!
Like that guy is there to kill those Gadols.
Yeah, he'll mess them up fierce. So I think Marignon has enough commanders. He's got a pretty good shot at stealing a lot of that gear. So might have farmed this Gadol as well.
I don't know how much he needs that thug gear for, but nice to have.
Yeah.
His army is, I think, still in that fort that's under siege, though.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. Some of it might have sailed to the cap. There's a decent amount of stuff here and a decent amount of stuff here. And...
yeah, and we haven't seen those devils move out, so it's possible there's also devils in that sieged fort as well.
Right. This does look like fewer devils than we saw the previous turn. Oh, there's a devil here. That's good.
Two devils.
Two devils.
Yeah, given the sheer range that Marignon's sailing brings him, it's very hard to tell what he's going to be having in any given fort until we actually see the battles. It's like we don't. Oh, well, we know the walls are cracked,
right?
So we know that there's probably fewer than 600 troops in that fort. But outside of that, we don't really know exactly what's going to happen, and we also don't know what he's going to be breaking with, because he could sail in basically everything.
Right. And the question is, Gath now is in a position where they can gym bait the army again and leave, and they have all the time in the world. Nobody else is fighting them right now. Or they can say, okay, let's do it. Let's bring in all the mages and let's have the big fight.
All the sacreds too.
Right.
They've got lots of seer in the neighborhood.
How many is in this army? That is a scary
you can just check the battle report.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to see it though, the visceral.
Oh, yeah.
That is a lot of dudes. I don't know if I
a lot of
the
these are
slingers behind the crossbows. Maybe that
Yeah,
makes
the other
sense.
thing is a lot of the units there are just vulnerable.
Right.
Like they're these squishy humans that can die to basically any type of battlefield clear.
Right. That is true.
Like even heat from hell can kill those guys by lighting them on fire.
That's true.
Although it's the wrong season for that because they are fighting in winter.
Right. It's neutral cold scales or neutral temperature scales here. So
Yeah, and gas natives like the giant stuff does have fire resistance.
yeah, I mean Marignon could do earthquake too. I don't know
That's
if they
true.
have the
Yeah.
research, but
Yeah, you kind of need mass flight for Marignon to pull that off because you also have a bunch of squishy humans in your army too. So
yeah, that's
both
true.
sides have both sides have tons of these low armor crossbows.
Right. But if Marignon were to like not bring their crossbows and to only bring like the high protection dudes, and somehow that was enough, and I don't know. There's a lot of ants that have to go into that, but
Yeah, they could look to do an HP route of that Gath army.
Right.
But on the other hand, as you were pointing out, Gath has the option to walk away.
Right.
And Marignon, as Gath had pointed out, is absolutely burning through his gem reserves.
Right. Okay, so I think that's all we have to see here. Any further comments on this conflict?
We got the Pangea raiding squad with the satyrs there. It
Right.
looks like Pangea is just doing low commitment stuff in order to basically maintain a presence in this war because they do still want their buddy to win it. And,
Right.
they still want to be able to take what territory they can from Gath's hopeful victory over Marignon from
Right.
Pan's perspective.
If Gath loses, then these two forts that they took are going to be in jeopardy. So, I mean, if
Right.
if Gath loses, yeah. So he does want Gath to win. Let's go up and look at Agartha. So we get a masturbatory message from Arco, but no masturbatory message from Agartha. I'm a little upset.
Well, I mean, I think that Agartha knew full well that it was less a matter of genius and more a matter of, wow, those fire elementals sure do be good.
Right. Did he rename this
And
man
look,
at least? He didn't. It's a shame.
it's still Embar.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, Embar can be proud of his accomplishments.
that's true.
This guy's also immortal, so if he dies here, that's cool.
Right.
Yeah, the one thing is it is costing fire gems every time he rides out with this, fire elemental spam.
Right. Oh. Okay, they would have just. Oh wait, he Phoenix Pirate. Oh no, that's part of the chassis.
Yeah, he just explodes.
Right.
He doesn't reform, just explodes.
So I mean,
if you do cast Phoenix Fire, then they reform and explode, so they have more explosion.
Right.
But,
so that's 150 gold dead. Not a big deal for these guys, and they put the cap under siege with a minimal force. That's really nice.
Yeah, 150 gold for 3 fire gems. That's a decent alchemy rate.
But we get to see Agartha's god for the first time.
Think just elemental span? Yeah. Oh,
or
he
earthquake.
did take nature.
This is earthquake.
Oh, it could be.
I mean, that's what I think. Digging at rock bottom.
Honestly, given that it's raiding, I'm honestly guessing earth elementals.
Yeah, you might be right. But that's kind of a weird thing to do on the god because it'll fatigue. I mean, I guess earthquake is too.
Yeah, they both fatigue it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did take nature, so that's actually kind of cool because that gives him Foul Vapor's access of his own and the ability to forge those all-important Nature 2 boosters.
Yeah, it's strange he didn't just tick this up to Nature 4, and then he would have at least had poison resistance for some of his Mage Core, which he got, he lost to getting cast. I don't know if he was using the Holy Mages or not, but...
I don't think he was. Yeah, you don't generally want the Sacred Mages on Agartha just because they're way less efficient.
They're pretty good. I was looking at Agartha the other day. So these guys, like, pretty much all these are useful except for the fire randoms.
Yeah, but dude, they're 185 gold.
Yeah. I mean, that's just...
Like, compare that to, like an Alchemist at 135.
Yeah. I mean, you're paying for the upkeep discount, basically. So, yeah.
And they're just, they're lower path mages.
Well, yeah, they're lower path, but they're still going to be 2 in everything, and they can jump in communions. I mean, they're really good. The Earth 2s are great, the Death 2s are great, the Astral ones are great.
I think that Astral 2, that the Astral randoms are solid, right? Because you use them to forge your matrices. You do need those guys. Earth 2 and Death 2, both those are both solid. But you don't want to pay 185 gold for a Death 2 mage, right? Like
yeah.
Compare that to the Chthonian Reanimator guy, the Death 2 Earth ones.
Yeah.
Those guys are reliably Death 2. So, and they cost less, and they give you a resource bonus, and they even bring a little bit of HP chaff.
Yeah, no, I like these guys too. The problem is if people do the things that Agartha sucks at, these guys just die. So it's like, I mean, I'm not saying he should have, but it is a little bit of a, if you have nature on your god, it's kind of nice to pick up poison resistance, and then you at least have some things which are not, that you care about, which are not going to die to foul vapors. But I don't know.
Yeah.
If you're losing your army to foul vapors, but then your mages are dying, that's not amazing. What it does open up kind of is like using these guys to support umbrals going into foul vapors traps. And you buff the umbrals up with like Iron Warriors, and then you do Skelly spam. And then it's like, oh, I actually can win a foul vapors fight. Whereas right now, he doesn't, he has to sacrifice mages to do that. And then if the mages all die, the umbrals are out. So.
Right. Yeah, he didn't really have his answer to foul vapors yet at the time that he took the war.
Right.
That's for sure.
Yeah. So
the Scott eventually gets you the answer, just in terms of like manually applying those poison resist buffs.
Yeah.
But that does require, having those indie nature mages.
Yeah, and if he got to Turtle for long enough and got to Enchantment 7, then he could even do Serpent's Blessing, and then he'd be out of that particular pit that Agartha can fall in. But
yeah, still susceptible to many other
right.
battlefield clears,
yes.
but not that one in particular.
Not that one anymore. So it looks like he's setting up to fight this, and we know that the big Agarthan army is inside this fort. And Agartha probably knew this fort had one turn left until it cracked. And so the god is in position. So either the god is going to gem bait, and then the main army's going to fight inside the fort, or they're all going to ride out together.
In Pythium's situation, I'd bounce that god, because it's relatively easy to do that given that he's by himself.
Ooh, that's a good point.
You can just send like some Hydra hatchlings and whatever at him.
That's a good point. Yeah, that's a really good idea. I don't do that enough. That would really up my play if I did that some.
Yeah, but in this case, because it's a solo unit, it's relatively easy to do it. As long as the force you're sending is large enough that it doesn't creep past it.
Yeah.
Because like there's a threshold where like the thing that it rolls against is basically the size of both armies in order to see if they miss each other. So you can basically block that by just sending like enough dudes of your own.
Yeah, that makes sense. I was reading the details on it like 2 days ago or something, because somebody was asking about it in Discord. And I was like, and somebody posted a link, and so I started reading about it. I was like, God, this is complicated. I can't do all the math, but I do remember that part of it. So I'm glad to have you explain it in clear English.
Yeah, the thing that makes it complicated in general is that it's basically showing how Illwinter like basically calculates what they think armies are worth.
Right.
Because the idea is basically that the stronger army should push the weaker army.
Right.
And, they have different ways of calculating what, counts for making units strong or weak, ranging from equipment to traits like regeneration and ethereal and so on.
Right.
Which is why it looks so complicated, because they factor in so many things into basically what you could call like the total army value.
Yeah. Okay. So cool. I don't think there's much else to see. There's no Agarthan forces over here. Did Arco just take this? Or is he patrolling? Oh, he's patrolling somebody out.
Yeah. It looks like Pythium does have reinforcements next to Agartha's cap.
Yeah.
So like it might be worth taking a look at that just to kind of gate.
Who'd you say has reinforcements?
Pythium. So like the thing that you just selected, that's the force that bounced off the hero guy. That's the anti-cap squad, I would guess.
Right.
So that's most likely going to be fighting Agartha's one lone army sitting outside of his capital.
Okay. And this guy won't be back for a few months.
Yeah.
Okay. The other thing that's interesting to point out is we know that TNC had been working extensively with Agartha, and we also know TNC's planning on attacking Pythium. And Pythium's kind of misfortune, if we want to call it that, last turn, pretty sure Agartha told TNC about that. So let's see what TNC had to say. Message from Demosthenes. We've asked Arethia to move onto the Throne of Water to hopefully kill the unfinished palisade under construction there. Rumor has it that it will allow us to upgrade our Arzur Academy to a citadel. The UI currently just offers to continue construction of the palisade due to a quirk of the timing when we found the free castle. Yeah, it's so weird how all that interacts. The same turn our palisade was due to complete. The waste that we pried off Arethia turns out to have a super rare S4 site on it, found via remote site searching this turn after we signed the peace. So we're now feeling quite good about our spoils from the Arethia War. We're continuing the drawdown of our deployed Mage Core via messenger boots. I expect other players to figure out we made peace this turn, despite whatever confusion is created by Agartha moving onto our throne. In other exciting news, we just passed 55 Blood Slaves, and we'll be empowering our first Zot Blood Hunter next turn.
Oh yeah. So the Zot guys can random blood, which is like, part of why you like might want to spam that. But even if they don't, they do have the bonus to blood hunting, just like innate on the chassis. So the non-blood random guys, once you empower them, they actually become better blood hunters than empowering a scout or whatnot.
Right. And if you're looking at it, they won't show the blood searching bonus until you empower them. So you kind of have to take a little bit of a blind leap of faith, and once you empower them, that bonus shows up. So
yeah, it's just a weird chassis specific quirk.
Right. Okay. About half were from Scouts Commanders. Oh, he's bootstrapping himself into blood.
Yeah.
I love this. What a badass. Half from trade with Marignon, plus a small bit from the little death basket that Atlanta sent us a couple turns back. 25 mixed gems with 8 blood. While we're sending around a few mages with boosters to site search higher paths, we finished site searching 6 paths in all of our lands not acquired in the past 3 turns, and are happy with our gem income other than Earth 3 and Nature 8. The rest are all 5 to 10. I'm sorry, 10 to 15. Hopefully we can... Go ahead.
We've kind of seen that his gem income was the best, like out of everyone in the game. Mostly, just on account of being large and having that second capital, but also just because he's actually been pretty diligent about site searching.
Right. Hopefully we can continue to be able to trade for Earth with other gem types. There's so many cool things that this nation can do with Earth gems.
Absolutely. That's where all your stealth comes from. That's like half your thug gear. Yeah, you absolutely need Earth with TNG because, and then later in the game, that also becomes vitally important for battlefield spells. So you can basically spend an unlimited number of Earth gems with this nation.
Right. So we can see from TNG. Let's see what happened here. Where's the Throne of Water? He was asking him to move on.
That's the one with the Azure Academy. So further down to the right.
Is it this one?
Yeah, it's that one. Yeah.
Okay. So he's going to move on top of this one.
Yeah. And it's interesting that the message that it displays is still that it's being upgraded, but really it still has that palisade bug going on.
Right. The other thing that's a little bit strange is Agartha attacked here, and this is the province that TNG was saying they just site searched, that they were happy about having. So I don't know if this was a miscommunication with them, because he remote site searched this turn. So
yeah, that's a little weird. Or remote site search it last turn,
right? So
maybe he's just trying to get to that water province.
That could be. Yeah, if these guys are going to enter into a long-term partnership, maybe that was part of the deal. That hey, let me get this lake.
Or didn't TNG say that they were going to have a bid on it or something for eventual bishop fish? But I think that Agartha is taking it for now, and that TNG will get it later when they're ready to summon those holy threes.
Okay, he didn't mention it in this, did he?
No, he mentioned it previously. Okay. That he basically has. I think he called it an option on that lake.
Okay, all right, so that makes sense. And I think it sounds like these guys have forged. I'm kind of thinking about doing like a video on diplomacy, but not about just levels of diplomacy within how much you can trust any given player, and not in terms of are they a trustworthy person, but the game state. And it sounds like these guys have forged a very deep kind of alliance, right? They're trading, they're cooperating on globals, they have a planned common enemy, they're working out reasonably complex trades. There's a lot of communication and trust between these two players, it seems like. So
yeah, oh yeah, and that was kind of what TNG had been going for, basically, is that the way that he saw himself backing out of this war was by actually making it such that they're not benefited from fighting each other anymore. Right. And that's kind of hard to crawl out from once you've already committed to an attack.
Yeah. Okay. So that's happening. Marignon, we've already seen. Gath, we've already seen. Vedheim and Pangea. Okay, do we have any message from these guys? We don't.
But we do have many battles, so we can see them talk with their units.
Right. And the short summary of last episode was Vedheim did very, very low commitment rating. And Arco Arco. Pangea had pretty moderate PD, he had like 25 PD in a lot of provinces. He had armies moving around.
And that was new PD, actually, which is very important because that's why it was able to block the raiding.
Right. So, and basically all of Vedheim's raiding got shut down for the most part. It was like a pretty bad turn for Vedheim. So let's see if that luck continues for Pangea or if it turns around.
Yeah, I mean, we do see that Vedheim seems to be holding the provinces on which they fought, but we don't know how much of that was actually fighting.
So this is interesting. This is the province that I was saying there's a cool move they could do where, you know, like
you magic phase
onto it, and then you take a big battle because there's probably going to be a big battle here. Well, turns out there's not a big battle here. Pangea is just pinging this. He's not going to walk into any trap. And Pangea moved in mage reinforcements here. Let's see what they were. Because this was a province that could have been magic phased attacked. And it
looks like just a bunch of sages.
Some with
and keepers.
Yeah. So this would have been very vulnerable to a magic phase attack still. Because these guys, the centaurs that are shown up in the normal phase as like a, you know.
It might actually still be vulnerable to a magic phase if he doesn't communion it up.
Right.
Like there's nothing in there unless he has put gear on some of those minotaurs that would kill an idol.
Right. Interestingly, we see Pangea doing some raiding of their own. We have 40 satyrs moving in here, successfully taking this stuff out. We have 32 satyrs moving in here, taking this stuff out as well.
Yeah, I like how he's been using those satyrs.
Yeah, he's made great use of them. They're really easy to counter, but it's annoying to have to counter them. And he's not doing them in abundance. You know, he's not sending like, you know, 400 units of satyrs running around naked, where that's his whole strategy and he's going to elf you all at once. So he doesn't care if he loses. This is not like an important part of his strategy. This is something that's like, hey, you need to, I'm going to make sure, I'm going to keep you honest and make sure you're putting up defenses for 40 satyrs in every single province, which is annoying to have to do.
Yeah, it's kind of like the equivalent of what Gath and other folks that got the Bakemono indies have been doing with their Bakemono raiding parties. The difference in Pangea's case that these are nationals.
Right.
But yeah, I think we kind of talked about this when we saw them deployed against Marignon. But these guys are great because they functionally are siege chaff that also doubles as raiding.
Right.
Or other way around if you want to think about it that way.
Yeah. And they're not shabby in combat. They have better than human stats in some ways. So
yeah, superhuman strength, hit points. So that's why I actually really like them as siege chaff, is that in addition to being able to stealth away, yeah, they have extra siege strength and lower gold cost. I think they're only 9 gold each.
Yeah.
Very low morale, though, which is the one downside.
Oh my gosh, that's ridiculously low. Holy shit.
I think it's like 8 or 9 base, but then they have the undisciplined penalty. And in this, 9 base. So they have undisciplined penalty and they're an enemy dominion,
right,
which puts that at -2.
Yeah, that's very, very low. But it seems to be working for them. Here, a smaller squad got caught. I wonder if this might have been enough to gym bait. Oh, they got patrolled out.
Yeah, they got caught in the blood hunting province.
Yeah. Oh, they cast Swarm.
He put gems on his blood hunters.
Yeah. I respect that.
Yeah, and advance and cast on the Gaija.
So that's good that he's patrolling out some of this. So Vedi moves a bigger commitment stack here. I think this is a foul bay for his goon squad to deal with the Pangean counterattacks.
Is it foul vapors? I mean, you can check.
Yeah, we're in the process here. Wait.
No gems.
No gems. Okay, so it's not. The right paths, but no gems.
Yeah, it just looks like point buffs.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised seeing the hag roll out.
Yeah, she's kind of a big mage.
Yeah.
Also just physically large, which makes her draw buffs sometimes.
Right.
Kind of cool that he's using that Hoberg guy as a leader. So he can kind of fill the same role as a Vedi Jarl in that you can basically bodyguard him.
Right.
The difference being that he has better base armor, I believe.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. He might be a better candidate to lead. Especially if you're not worried about Chillara stuff. So, yeah. Raiders coming? No? Okay, so not actually a lot of action. Let's just scroll through these real quick and make sure I didn't miss anything.
Oh, he's using Dryads to lead those. Oh, that's cool.
It's kind of interesting. So
that's a transformed guy.
Right.
So this guy,
He's size
so I actually
4 or 5. I can't remember. 4.
that's a 4. Yeah. So I actually did something very similar when I got certain forms where, especially with a flying guy, I actually had an eagle that I was doing this with. Like, just because of the base hit points on the chassis, you can kind of use them as a deep strike raider. In this case, it didn't look like he had Soul Vortex up, but I think that's like what the Death Gem was for.
Yeah, I think he just those damn harpies. They're foiling all his plans.
Well, he should be able to get one gem off, or sorry, one spell off.
Right. He should have done Soul Vortex first and Invulnerability second, probably.
Yeah, if he has Soul Vortex, he might have also like been finished researching it this turn and not able to script it. Like there's lots of different reasons why it wouldn't have been cast. But either way, I think that the fort was kind of the wrong target for that. But anyways, to go back to what I was saying, like these guys function as raiders just because of the high mobility on the flyer. And then when they die, they turn into the humanoid thug form, which is actually even more valuable. So you're totally comfortable losing them, but you also are requiring your opponent to actually spend resources all to give you that better form.
I think the form is better than human. I think it's the size 4. I'm not positive. I think it's the size 4, like
the white mage.
Yeah, the size 4 white mage.
It's better in some ways because you can actually gear it. Like that guy can't hold hand boosters, for example.
No, but when this guy comes back as a white, I'm pretty sure it's the size. It's a size 4 humanoid, but it's the but it's not a human. Anyway, maybe you were saying the same thing.
Yeah, it's the size 4 like giant.
Right. Yeah. Okay, we're saying the same thing.
Yeah, which is kind of a better form for many purposes than the flying snake thing.
Right.
So like it's less mobile, but it has other upsides with relation to like slots and hit points.
Yeah. So yeah, it's a and you get a chance when you do all these things to get a path upgrade. Transformation, you can get it, and then you can get it also with Twiceborn. So this guy, the lumber construct thug, which I'm so glad we get to see.
Yeah, so he actually didn't get interrupted by Pangea, it looks like.
Right.
So he was able to pull it off.
So cool.
Very cool.
So Pangea looks like they're down a tiny bit of land in this engagement so far.
Yeah, they're actually, like, it looks like they're down a lot more just because a lot of that is Marignon successfully retaking land.
Right.
Rather than Bettyheim raiding them.
Army size, though, Pangea's up and up and up. Bettyheim, more flat, has had small losses from the failed raiding last turn, and they kind of regained that this turn. But Pangea's in like war production mode. Troops are going up.
I think part of that is that Pangea is pumping satyrs.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's pumping satyrs out of those 2 northern forts near Marignon, which is kind of throwing off his numbers a little bit. And then if you look at his capital, it looks like those are mercenaries. So that's the sappers that he won the bid on.
Oh, yeah. That's awesome.
So those are kind of pumping up his numbers. So that's his mason. But he is also getting real troops, it looks like. Like you can see on the front there, he's got Centaur Cataphracts, and he's definitely getting a lot of crossbows.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of weird. Bettyheimer's kind of picked a war. I can see how if the rating went better, he'd be in a lot better position right now. But it's kind of like, it's a little bit like the dog caught the bus. And Bettyheim is fine. Like he said in his messages to us, he's fine doing like a little poke and prod thing to get going. But this is looking to be very difficult poking and prodding. So.
Well, the thing is, he wants to see Pangea's army before he commits to fight it.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of why it's going so slowly, is that neither of the 2 players want to be the one to show their hand first.
Right. Yeah, I think that's true.
What we might see, which I also find very cool, is kind of a subtle or a slow escalation from both sides, right? Like you need to be able to send something that beats these point buff stacks from Bettyheim now,
right?
Because like you can see how many mages he's got on the throne, so you need to escalate above that level, but you don't want to send everything. And then Bettyheim might deploy a force that beats that, either with the appropriate trap, with foul vapors if there isn't enough poison resistance, or something along those lines, like maybe a giant thug. So you got to see kind of like an escalating series where both sides actually bring a little bit more before they actually get to the point of dropping the whole doom stack.
Right. The other thing that's of note is we're in the middle of winter right now. So it's also possible that Pangea isn't in a hurry while it's the middle of winter. And as soon as spring comes around, maybe he'll turn up the aggression. So that's another factor playing in. All right. Well, I think that is everything. I think we've covered all the nations. Utgard, we didn't really cover.
Yeah.
He took this from
What
Pythium.
is there to cover?
It's kind of spicy. Yeah. Okay.
His stuff is in his capital, so we don't know where they're going. He might be going on Arco, he might be going on Bettyheim, but it doesn't look like most of his army is on the Pythium front, so it doesn't look like he's trying to go scoop up that land. But the other thing which we'd commented on before is that he's in a decent spot to go grab those farms off of Marignon, and he hasn't done it.
Right. Right. Yeah, that's a little surprising. I mean, he can do that kind of at any time. He just needs to do that. Maybe negotiate with Gath. I don't know how open Gath is going to be to that, but
I don't think you'd have a huge problem with that as Gath, because it does take away resources from Marignon. Because until you lock down all of those coastal forts, because Pythium can draw income over sailing, he's getting that farm income.
right. The only
And if you
problem I
can't
think
raid
doing it is right now it's in sailing range, and you can't do it with just Scrotty, because if he's killing Godals easily, he's going to be able to kill Scrotty. So, he'll have to actually do some kind of commitment. And we've heard through the grapevine he may be interested in attacking Bettyheim. Somebody was saying that there's an. I think Pangea maybe was saying that he was going to join.
Pan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll see. But I think that's it for now. I think, there's not too much left to cover. So
I'm really looking forward to seeing that the fact that Xibalba actually finally rode out at all, and we now might see some conflict between them and Arco.
Yeah, that'll be really interesting because Arco's going to have to switch things up because point buff is not good against Aussies. I could be made wrong, but I don't think it is. So,
to some extent, it is good to do protection stacking, like Moss Body and plus protection and so on, because these Aussies are hitting for like maybe 30ish, but that's still at the level where you can tank it reasonably. Luck, of course, is also very high value.
Yeah, but the question is just how you get one turn to cast buffs before you have 150, 200 Aussies land on you.
Yeah, so between that and the fact that you need a large quantity of troops,
right,
makes the point buffing much less effective than the battlefield-wide versions of these spells.
Right. Yeah.
So like Will of the Fates is huge against Aussies, as is Storm, of course.
Right.
Whereas the AoE1 spells, it's hard to get enough of them out in order to swing a battle. But like individually, the effects do matter. It's just a matter of getting enough mass of like luck and protection and Moss Body and all that good stuff. Given that, you can't really cover 200 troops all that easily.
Yeah. Very good
As
point.
Xibalba, if you don't have a non-aggression pact with Arco, last turn, or rather this turn, would have been the time to go kill that army.
Yeah. If war is inevitable, I don't think you want to let him take the cap first. I mean, in some ways, Arco is pretty overextended, right? Like the stuff, like Ulm is hardly defended at all. There's hardly anything here, and these forces are all kind of strung out over in this way, finishing off Jomon. So,
yeah, it's a little weird, and Xibalba was also not in a position to take advantage of that though, because he actually did move everything up just into these Jomon provinces.
I mean, maybe the Mage Corps and all these bats, I'm pretty sure could come take Ulm. I don't think if he flew everything in these two provinces down here, I don't think Arco would have anything to say.
I think that those guys are just blood hunting.
Well, yeah, no, they are. But I mean, would you rather blood hunt or take a capital?
Yeah, true. And then he also still has his Obsidian Warriors, which I hadn't. So those guys are still there. So yeah, he should actually have a decent force. I sort of just like mentally thought or assumed that they would be with the Ocelotls, but no, they're not. So he does actually have a decent pile of Sacreds over on his southern front.
Look at this. Xibalba way higher in army, and arguably the army he has is higher quality. So that's up for
I don't think that's arguable. I think that's his army is massively higher quality.
Well, I'm just saying it's inflated a little bit because I know he has some long dead and some other kinds of chaff and some bats that suck. But yeah, I think it's higher quality. But in provinces, look at this. So it's like, and the research is about the same. So you have like an inversion of who has the most army. This is like power density. Like Xibalba has this much power packed into this little land, and Arco has this much power spread across this much land.
Yeah, the weird thing though is Xibalba, because they've been putting such a heavy emphasis on blood hunting, they're way behind in research from where they could be.
Right, that's true.
And I mean, I think that's a conscious choice, right? That he decided that he wants to, instead of having like a wider, more subtle toolkit, he wants to just have a bigger hammer.
The weird thing that I think is kind of funny about that is the bless. Like the bless is not the bless is more like the learned man, the like armchair general, philosopher king bless. It's not like 12 strength or something, right? Or something stupid.
Yeah, no, his bless is very versatile. It's designed around battlefield clear and for late game stuff. So it definitely is the sort of bless that you would imagine fitting well with a little bit heavier of a research focus.
Right. Yeah. So,
But on the other hand, like once he does switch over and get that research, having a large number of Ocelotls to benefit from those buffs also is, of course, super helpful.
yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me today, Sai.
Absolutely. Thanks for hosting.
And viewers who made it to the end, as always, thank you so much. We'll see you next time.